Hello and welcome to Timeless with Julie Hartman Live. It is Monday, May 20th, 2024. I'm Julie Hartman. It is so great to be with you, especially because it has been a week. I've taken a little bit of a hiatus from Timeless with Julie Hartman Live, so it is so fun to be back with you. 844-861-5537 is the call-in number, 844-861-5537. And as always, you can use the chat as long as you keep it classy. I'm going to be turning here, I think, during the show to be looking at the chat. Usually I have a direct line to it, but we're rolling with the difference today. Hello, Sean. Great as always to be with you. How you doing, buddy?
I'm good. How are you, Jules?
I'm good. I'm very good. Yeah. I'm sleeping more.
Long time no see.
I know. Long time no see. It's amazing when you have been away from something for an entire week. It feels like an eternity, but guess it wasn't that much time. We have two main things to talk about today. The first is President Biden's commencement speech at Morehouse College. I don't know if you guys have seen some clips of it on the internet, but it is so race hustly in a way that is truly at this point beyond belief. You would think that President Biden and many of the other race hustlers would have some more dignity and some more understanding that everyone is on to their race hustling, but it is just amazing that they continue to do it at the to the extent that they are. We're going to be comparing that with President Obama's address that he gave at Morehouse College in 2013, which is so different. Like, you literally cannot imagine how different it is. President Obama's address, I think, is very gracious. It's very practical. And then comparing that with the one that we saw from President Biden, you're gonna be amazed. So that's the first thing. And then the second thing, another thing you'll be absolutely amazed by. I recently came across this staggering statistic about phone data, the amount that we use our phones. And yeah, this is something that we're all aware of. We all know that we're too addicted to these devices. But what you're going to see at the end of the show is that this is really like one of the most important things in life to prioritize, getting off of our phones because of the amount that it just eats away at our lives. But first, I want to talk to you a little bit about a personal situation, which is why I've been gone for the past week and why I took last Tuesday and Wednesday off of the show. I love doing the show so much. Since we started the show, I don't think I took a single day off of filming because it's so much fun and I love doing it so much and take it so seriously. So taking those 2 days was like the biggest deal to me to do. But I was going through a situation that I really want to share with you because I think it could be very helpful. So those of you who are watching the show last week or the week before know that I said on one of the episodes that I had gotten 1 hour of sleep the night before. It's so funny to look back at that. What did I say? I said I got 1 hour of sleep, and I looked up what that feels like, or what in effect that's like, and it's like taking 3 shots of tequila. So I came into the show like on that 1 hour, kind of feeling a little bit woozy. But over the past few weeks, I have been really, really struggling with sleep. That was just one night where I got 1 hour. The night before that, I had gotten like 3 hours. I was just going through these days when I was getting a very, very low number of sleep. And I can get into the details of why that was happening. I was traveling around so much. Those of you who listen to this show, the many millions of you who watch Timeless and Dennis and Julie, you know that I was in Rome. I was in Madrid a few weeks ago. And then I was in New York City. I was up at Columbia's campus taking videos of all the crazy people. I sort of feel like a cat who's lived 9 lives over the past few weeks and months, just traveling around so much, wasn't taking my nutrition as seriously as I should. Just, we don't need to get into the details of why the sleep problem was arising, but I was getting a really low number of hours a night. And it was really, really hard. Those of you who struggle with insomnia know what I'm talking about very well. When you don't get sleep, nothing is right. I remember being on the plane flying back from New York to LA, and I'm sitting there, and I really can laugh at this now because I feel so much better. I wouldn't be talking about this with you if I didn't feel like I was in a good place of rest and on a good track. But I remember sitting on that plane flying back to Los Angeles, and I'm in the middle row, and the seats on this side of the plane and the seats on that side of the plane were coming together. That's how sleep deprived I was. It was like an effed up Venn diagram, like looking around. Things were coming together. It was vertigo. It was just so bad. And so why am I telling you this? I'm telling you this because there are two major things I learned from this experience. And as corny as it sounds, they will stay with me for the rest of my life, these two things that I learned. Because now I'm on the other side of it. I'm sleeping so much better these days, thank God. I feel like I've tried every potion, every, supplement, I've burned like incense. I've done all these crazy things. I'm on a good sleep hygiene schedule. I feel so much better than I did. And so I want to tell you the main thing that really got me through it. There's this poem, and by the way, corny alert. This is all very, very corny, but I think it'll be helpful to you because everyone has their own flavor of struggle, and mine recently happened to be a dangerously low level of sleep. But I would lie there at night, and I would be so worried about getting through this moment. I would be lying there, and I'd go, "Oh my God, I have to take these 2 days off of work to kind of rest. I'm not, going out and socializing. I'm, suffering through this no sleep. My health is going to suffer as a result." You start spiraling and spiraling, and then the problem that you have gets worse because you're spiraling. And the thing that got me through it is I would lie there at night and I thought of this poem. We talked about it on Dennis and Julie recently. It's by Rudyard Kipling, who's this British author. I stumbled across this poem in this book called The Book of Virtues, which actually a listener of Timeless and Dennis and Julie recommended to me. It's this great book, and you just flip open to a random page and it has a great poem or a great aphorism that you can read and really live by. And I discovered this poem in this book. And again, it's by this guy, Rudyard Kipling, who's British, and he wrote it in 1910. And the poem has all of these lines that he basically phrases it as, if you can do this or if you can do that, then you'll be like a really strong, healthy person. It's basically a poem about how to live a good life. And there's this one line in there that was my North Star through this whole sleep disaster. When I thought I was never going to get good sleep again, when I thought, oh my God, I won't be able to do my job, I won't be able to have a good life, I won't be able to leave the house, when I was in the depths of the spiral, this one line in the poem got me through it. And here's the line. It says, if you can meet triumph and disaster and treat those two imposters just the same. That is an amazing line. And again, the poem is, if you can do this, if you can do that. There are these other lines. If you can keep your head when all about you are losing theirs. If you can trust yourself when all men doubt you. If you can do this, if you can do that. It's all about living a good life. But there's this one line and it says, if you can meet triumph and disaster and treat those two imposters just the same. And I swear to God, that is what got me through this whole thing. Because I thought, this feels like a disaster. And again, those of you who get no sleep or have struggled with insomnia, Sean, I know you said that you had sleep apnea. Those of you who've struggled with this, you know what I'm talking about, because it feels like the most debilitating thing, because sleep is such an important part of life. If you're not getting it, everything else in life really suffers as a result. But I lied there and I thought, What feels like a disaster right now is an illusion. And so this is a very hard moment, but treating it like it's this life-ending thing and spiraling down to the depths of telling yourself you're never going to get out of it, you're never going to go back to work, you're never going to this, you're never going to that. That is an illusion. That is your mind playing tricks on you. And so that line, it just made me realize, don't succumb to the myth that this is a disaster. This is hard, but you'll get through it. And I did. I came out the other side. And so whatever it is that you're going through, whether it's sleep problems, by the way, if you have sleep problems, email me. I told you I've gotten into all of these great sleep hygiene habits. I honestly feel like I could be a professional on helping people get good sleep with all that I've learned. So if you struggle with that, email me. But whatever your flavor is of difficulty in life, I hope that this line is helpful to you. So that's the first thing. And then the second kind of takeaway that I had from this whole experience was, again, corny alert, trite alert. I know sometimes I venture into that territory, but I love sort of looking at my life and figuring out what I can learn from all kinds of experiences, the good, the bad, the ugly. And I learned through this one how pain and difficulty can actually be such an immense blessing, which I know people know, but sometimes you really got to experience it in life to have it be hammered home to you. And so now that I'm on a good amount of sleep, everything in life is so magical. Everything in life is so great. Seriously, you're not seeing Sean, but he's cracking up at me right now. But just getting like 6 hours or 7 hours of sleep now, to me, the old me, if I got 6 or 7 hours of sleep, I would go throughout my day and I'd go, oh my God, I didn't get 8 hours. Oh gosh, I'm tired. I would think about how tired I was, or I would convince myself that there was something bad about my day because I didn't get the, requisite number of sleep that everybody tells us that we need to get. Because I was in the depths of being so low, because I know what it feels like to be on 1 hour of sleep. And let me tell you something, it doesn't feel like being on 3 shots of tequila. Having 3 shots of tequila is way more fun than being on 1 hour of sleep. Now that I know what it is like to be in that state, a lot of other things by comparison are really good. I walk around life feeling better. And so much is a gift as a result. The mundane, even being in the line at the grocery store and feeling good, feeling somewhat rested, not feeling like total crap. It is a blessing, and it sort of gives you a new lease on life because you know how stark the difference is. So that's my little life talk before we move on to President Biden race hustling. I see that Sean is nodding in emphatic agreement.
It's very nice to have you back.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah, taking 2 days off for me, I feel like a slacker. I feel like I, was reneging on my responsibilities. But I'm back. I love doing this, and it's so great to be with you on more than 60 minutes of rest because that is no bueno. Okay, so let's talk about Mr. Race Hustler. But first, we do have to acknowledge something, pretty enormous that happened in the past 24 hours. God, this helicopter crash. The president of Iran, Ibrahim Raisi, dying in a helicopter crash alongside the foreign minister. Apparently, there were others on that helicopter. Obviously, more details are coming out that we will discuss as they unfold. But this moment that we're in now, I've said this on Timeless before. It reminds me of something that the great historian Neil Ferguson observed. Neil Ferguson was talking about World War II. And he had this great observation that, we think that World War II started in 1938 when Hitler invaded Austria. But he said, wait, hold on. Now I'm getting my history wrong. 1938, is that the year that he invaded? Or was that Czechoslovakia? Sean is going to check out and then come back to us here. This is very embarrassing for me as a history major to be forgetting in this moment right now. I'm going to blame it on the accumulated lack of sleep that I was struggling with. But Neil Ferguson has this great line where he says, we think that World War II started in 1938 with this one event. No, I got it. It was when Hitler invaded Poland. I got it. Thank you. Hitler invaded Poland. But actually, Neil Ferguson said, it didn't start in 1938. It started in 1933 when Japan invaded Manchuria. In other words, Neil Ferguson's point was, we think of World War II starting at this one affirmative event, but there were actually all these little things that seemed sort of innocuous at the time or, unrelated at the time that were percolating, and then they kind of metastasized into World War II. And I think that's a very, very keen observation, because how many people in the early 1930s would have thought that what was going on with Japan invading Manchuria would eventually have had anything to do with what was going on in Germany with the ascent of Hitler? Those two things, what? You're cutting in.
So, well, I just briefly going through this and overlooking quickly. In 38, it was Czechoslovakia and Austria. In fall of 39, it was Poland.
Oh, good. It was all of those things. Okay. So I actually wasn't wrong. I was just spectacularly right. Wow. Boy, he did a lot in 1938. But back to this point, who would have thought in the early 1930s that whatever Japan was doing over in Asia would have had anything to do with what Hitler and the Nazi Party were doing in Germany? But they came together. And I can't help but think that maybe we're in a little bit of a similar moment now. I know that this is not very light and fun and fluffy and encouraging, but when I see a news story like this, that's what my mind goes to. It seems like there are all of these things happening that are individually quite troublesome, but we're not quite seeing yet like how it all fits together. The president of Iran dies in a helicopter crash. Putin invaded Ukraine a few years ago. October 7th happens in Israel, and now there's this big Israel-Gaza war. China is on the march. They just hacked the UK Ministry of Defense, and there's on the cover of the Wall Street Journal today, there's this warning about their espionage here in the United States. It seems like there are all these things going on, again, that seem kind of unrelated, but maybe they'll have a way of coming together. I hope not. I hope what I'm not saying right now is that we're on the brink of World War III. Again, so sorry to be so encouraging on this Monday afternoon, but I'm also not gonna, dilute or lie to you that this is some weird stuff that's going on. And only time will tell how it will all come together. Okay, but let's go to the race hustler. So, President Biden, as some of you are probably aware, gave the commencement address at Morehouse College in Atlanta, which is a all-black college, an HBCU, and all-male college in Atlanta, Georgia. And as I said, and as you will see, the race hustling of this man is so shameless. It is so disgusting. It's amazing how we live in such a divided country now, because half of the country, I think, would watch this video and see the race hustling for what it is. And then, bizarrely, I think the other half of the country would watch this and totally agree with him and perhaps not see it at all as race hustling. I think it couldn't be more obvious what it is. And, of course, we know that President Biden is suffering greatly right now compared to how well he was doing in 2020 with regard to the black vote. Get a load of this statistic. I've talked about this on Timeless before, but it's just amazing. According to the New York Times Siena poll taken in March, and again, this is the New York Times, so this is a entity that is no friend to Donald Trump. According to the New York Times Siena poll in March, right now, President Biden is polling at 66% among the black vote, whereas Donald Trump is polling at 23%. Now, you may hear that and you may go, oh, well, President Biden is still doing so much better than President Trump. Let's compare those numbers to 2020. President Biden had 92% of the black vote, according to this same poll, in 2020. Donald Trump had 3% of the black vote in 2020. So President Biden has gone from 92 now down to 66. President Trump has gone from 3% up to 23%. So President Biden knows that he's got a problem on his hands. So what does he do? Instead of, oh, I don't know, becoming a competent president and actually doing his job, he's just going to race hustle. And this, of course, just shows something that we all know, but is worth highlighting again and again, that the left is a one-trick pony. They have really become a one-trick pony. And the one trick is paint conservatives or any of their opposition as inherently bigoted and then position themselves as the people who are going to rescue the United States of America from that bigotry. And it's not just with regard to race. You see this with, I think, almost every other issue in the United States. They do this trick. Let's look at abortion, for instance. What do they say about that? They say, oh, well, the reason that conservatives, are pro-life, or the reason why they oppose abortion is because they hate women. And you need to vote for us because those conservatives hate women. And as our Vice President Kamala Harris says, they want to take us back to the time, when women didn't have rights. That's their trick. As if there is no other reason to oppose abortion besides women hating. That's what they have to do. They have to spread this lie that the reason that pro-life people are pro-life is because they hate women. And then they package themselves as the people who are going to rescue America from the patriarchy. Let's take immigration. What do they say? The reason that conservatives want to have a border, or the reason, why they are hardlined on immigration, is because they're xenophobic. It's because they hate immigrants. And we, the Democratic Party, we're going to rescue you from this, terrible white supremacist group in our country who are so xenophobic. Again, as if there's no other reason to want a border or to want to have immigration enforcement. You see it literally with every single issue. Transing the kids. Oh, the reason that conservatives don't want to trans the kids is because they hate trans people. As if there's no other reason for not wanting to trans the kids. You get the point. You see it all the time. All right, let's play clip one. It was so hard, let me tell you, to just highlight certain parts of this speech because all of it, we could spend like 20 timeless episodes going through how despicable it is, the lies, how damaging it is, I believe, to the ethos of this country. But let's hear what I deem to be the epitome of the race hustling.
Insurrectionists who stormed the Capitol with Confederate flags are called patriots by some. Not in my house. Black police officers, black veterans protecting the Capitol were called another word.
Can we pause for a second? I'm so sorry. That actually wasn't the first clip. Do you have by the way, people who are live, you get to see the behind the scenes. The first clip starts with, but let's be clear what happens to you and your family when old ghosts with new garments seize power. That's the first part of the clip. If you
administration history, tap into the full talents of our nation. I'm also proud to put in the first black woman on the United States Supreme Court. And I have no doubt one day a Morehouse man will be on that court as well. Oh, you know it.
All right. Hopefully we can find the other clips, but this is enough to work with as it is. So listen to what he just said. he was talking about, he was bragging about the, diversity of his administration, how he put the first black female on the Supreme Court. And then he's saying, I have no doubt that one of you Morehouse men will also be on the Supreme Court. There is so much wrong with that. First of all, President Biden shouldn't be bragging about putting a black woman on the Supreme Court. He should be bragging about putting a great, competent person on the Supreme Court. Forget black, forget women. This is the problem now in this country, where the thing that has made America great is that we have elevated people based on a meritocracy. We have judged people not on their skin color or not on their genitalia or not on who they sleep with, but the merits but their own merits, if they can competently do the job. And so it shows you how sadly far away we have gotten from what was once that defining part of America, that our president is getting up and bragging about putting the first black woman on the Supreme Court, and people are cheering about it. It's a cool thing that a black woman is on the Supreme Court, but that should not be the thing that he's bragging about. He should be bragging about the merits. And then that second part, which is, I have no doubt that one of you Morehouse men will be on the Supreme Court one day. That just is another thing that kind of shows how off course we've gotten. Because yes, maybe there's someone in that audience who would be on the Supreme Court one day. Maybe there is a fantastic legal scholar sitting there. But it's such pandering, It's so like, I want to ask President Biden, how do you know? How do you know that one such individual in this audience is going to be on the Supreme Court? On this show recently, I was playing these clips from both Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. Joe Biden was speaking at the Harvard Class Day graduation ceremony in 2017, and then Hillary Clinton was speaking in 2018 at Yale Class Day. And I played these clips, and I showed how both of them in their speeches were just heaping praise upon the graduates. Joe Biden said, "You, Harvard class of 2017, you are the most enlightened, tolerant, diverse generation in American history. You're going to change the world." And then Hillary Clinton goes in front of the Yale graduating class, and she goes, "Yale class of 2018, you have demonstrated the courage and conviction that it takes to be leaders of the United States of America." And when we played that on this show, I paused and I said, this is so much of what's wrong with America right now. How do they know? They don't know the individual members of the class personally. For all they know, everyone in that Harvard audience or everyone in that Yale audience could be scumbags. But nevertheless, they're heaping this praise. You are so tolerant. You are so great. You're going to do great things. That's not how you create leaders. What I think these speeches should be is, hey, actually, you're not so great. Actually, you're not so enlightened. You're 22 years old. You think you know a lot, but you actually don't know bleep. And you got to go out in life and you have a lot to learn. And let me be encouraging to you and tell you to chase your dreams and tell you to, go out and lead a life that you want to lead. But also let me temper that encouragement with some appropriate life lessons here, which is that you have a lot to learn and you aren't as great as you think you are. But nevertheless, we see that President Biden is falling into this trap. Oh, one of you is going to be on the Supreme Court one day. Okay, maybe, but how do you know? Do we have more clips? If not, that's fine. I can just read parts of it. You can play any clip. Surprise me. Okay, that's no problem. Do you have any other one to play? It's again okay if you don't. Literally, we'll play like Russian roulette with the Joe Biden speech. I won't know which clip it is, but I'm sure I'll be able to analyze it. Any? You've played the two clips. Okay, no, that's fine. Okay, well then let me show you already what a stark contrast this is to an address that President Obama gave at Morehouse College in 2013. When I was looking at this Joe Biden speech, somewhere in the depths of my memory, don't ask me how I learned about this. I remembered that President Obama gave an address at Morehouse College in 2013. And I went online and I looked up what he said. And it is so different. Before we do that, I will just read to you just 2 or 3 bullet points from Joe Biden's speech. He says to the Morehouse College graduates that, quote, "Let's be clear what happens to you and your family when old ghosts in new garments seize power." So he's essentially saying, like, there are these old, KKK segregationists, ghosts, these conservatives, and let's be clear what happens to you and your family when they seize power. It's just despicable. Okay, then he goes on and he goes, "Today in Georgia, they won't allow water to be available to you while you wait in line to vote in an election." So and by the way, there is this Georgia voter law, which does prohibit people from handing out food and water to voters in line. But that's because what has happened in the past is that these groups come in and it's been a form of bribery. They'll be like, "Here are some cookies with a sticker of my preferred candidate. Here's this, here's that." The law got rid of that. But Joe Biden, and maybe you can think it's a stupid thing to have that law or that provision of the law. Maybe you should think that food and water should be handed out to voters as they go wait in line to vote, whatever. But come on, Joe Biden is acting like it's this Jim Crow law that is specifically designed to keep Black people down. It's ridiculous. Even if you disagree with the law or that provision of the law, it's just stupid at the very least. It's innocuous. It's not designed to discriminate. He goes on, and of course he starts talking about the January 6th insurrectionists, who he calls them insurrectionists. Again, he's just peddling this race narrative. He goes, quote, "Insurrectionists who stormed the Capitol with Confederate flags are called patriots by some. Not in my house. Black police officers, Black veterans protecting the Capitol were called another word, as you recall." You got the point. If that did happen on January 6th, that these Black police officers were called the N-word, I will be the first one to say that is despicable. Anyone who uses the N-word is a despicable human being. But he is taking this and he is acting like it is like this huge part of this country. The people holding Confederate flags or people calling Black people the N-word. It is a lie. I have been steeped in this conservative world for 4 years now. I have met the most prominent people in conservative talk media. I have never met someone even approaching a racist person. Of course, there are some crazy racists out there, and they're despicable. But it is the epitome of race hustling, and it is the epitome of lying for Joe Biden to act like it is a huge conglomerate of people in this country who pose a threat to Black America and to democracy writ large. It's gross. I know that Sean's saying we have the clips. I just gave everyone the TLDR, so I don't think we'll need to play the clips. But I do want people to hear what President Obama said 11 years ago and how different it is, because this speech of President Obama's is so fantastic. Let's listen to clip 1 of it. Again, this is in 2013.
And today, Frederick is a family man and a working man and a Morehouse man. And that's what I'm asking all of you to do. Keep setting an example for what it means to be a man. Be the best husband to your wife, or your boyfriend, or your partner.
He's right. So
Be the
inspirational.
best father you can be to your children. Because nothing's more important. I was raised by a heroic single mom, wonderful grandparents, made incredible sacrifices for me. And I know there are moms and grandparents here today who did the same thing for all of you. But I sure wish I had had a father who was not only present, but involved. Didn't know my dad. And so my whole life, I've tried to be for Michelle and my girls what my father was not for my mother and me. I want to break that cycle where a father's not at home, where a father's not helping to raise that son or daughter. I want to be a better father, a better husband, a better man.
So instead of race hustling, he was acknowledging an issue right now in the Black community, which is fatherlessness. 75% of Black kids right now grow up in a home without a father. And President Obama was acknowledging that, to his great credit. And he was giving such an inspirational message. Not you are so great, or, he was saying, be a better person, be a better man, be a better human being. That is the kind of inspirational address that I think that everybody, not just, people at this college who President Obama was addressing, everybody needs to hear. But it's so different than the race hustly pandering that President Biden was giving. Do we have the other clip of President Obama? Let's play that one too. So different.
We know that too many young men in our community continue to make bad choices. And I have to say, growing up, I made quite a few myself. Sometimes I wrote off my own failings as just another example of the world trying to keep a Black man down. I had a tendency sometimes to make excuses for me not doing the right thing. But one of the things that all of you have learned over the last 4 years is there's no longer any room for excuses. I understand there's a common fraternity creed here at Morehouse. Excuses are tools of the incompetent, used to build bridges to nowhere and monuments of nothingness. Well, we've got no time for excuses. Not because the bitter legacy of slavery and segregation have vanished entirely, they have not. Not because racism and discrimination no longer exist. We know those are still out there. It's just that in today's hyper-connected, hyper-competitive world with millions of young people from China and India and Brazil, many of whom started with a whole lot less than all of you did, all of them entering the global workforce alongside you, nobody is going to give you anything that you have not earned. Nobody cares how tough your upbringing was. Nobody cares if you suffered some discrimination. And moreover, you have to remember that whatever you've gone through, it pales in comparison to the hardships previous generations endured, and they overcame them. And if they overcame them, you can overcome them too.
What happened to that Barack Obama? Seriously, that is a fantastic address. It is totally different from the kinds of things that we hear now. Compare that with what Joe Biden said. Again, what President Obama said is not just uplifting, or applicable to Morehouse college graduates. It's applicable to all of us. It's fundamentally the ethos of America, which is work hard, don't make excuses, and good things will happen. There will be challenges. There will be things in your way, absolutely. But you be self-reliant. God, it's crazy. What do you think, Sean, looking at that? You remember that time. I was 13. I wasn't paying attention to Barack Obama doing that.
There's no comparison between Barack Obama and Joe Biden. Barack Obama is a gifted speaker. I think he's a better man than Joe Biden. the biggest disappointment for me with Obama was he didn't implement as a president the things he talked about when he was running, and that was
Totally.
a failure. And it arguably made race relations worse, his presidency, than the things he talked about uniting when he was running. And the other thing is that I lost my train of thought.
That's okay. It happens. No, but it's true, because Barack Obama really, and we should do some shows on this. He really implemented a lot of this DEI stuff. He was kind of the start of that. But then it's fascinating. That's like a year into his second term, and that's right now, that sounds very conservative, what he just said.
Barack Obama was a star. He came out of nowhere, and
Yeah.
he was this bright, shining candidate. And the old established Democrats that we're still dealing with now got a hold of him, and they saddled him with Joe Biden as VP. And so that old Democrat side of Washington that we all need to get rid of is still lingering, and they I think, infected him. And I think that's part of the reason why he's so quiet now. You don't hear him talking a lot, certainly as much as an ex-president normally would, trying to help Joe Biden. I think he knows he was saddled with the old Democrat regime, and that party needs to go. The old politicians that have made Washington horrible are outdated. They're past their expiration date. They need to go. And so they knew they had to harness Obama, right? And they could ride him to the championship. And they thought they could follow it with Hillary. And then Trump came out of nowhere. And that's really why they hate Trump. They can't control Trump. He's from the outside. But they were able to harness Barack and still have their fist around everything that was happening. So that's what I took away from that. And what you're seeing is Obama was truly an inspirational guy, you know?
He was.
Yeah.
He was. We really should do an episode on how we can't fully know why, but how and why this all changed. Because that is so different, as we've been saying, from the Barack Obama today, from many members of the Democratic Party today. But at least we have that in the archives. We should play like the things that Democrats used to say that are now deemed or sound so conservative. Like they used to refer to illegal immigrants as illegal aliens. Now that's like so sacrilege. Let me quickly look at the chat because I haven't been able to look at it. Oh my gosh. Someone's writing, I'm a mom of 2 toddlers and I treasure the days when I sleep well and can function. It's so true. When you know the alternative, you know how great it is to actually get some rest. Oh yeah, someone's writing about Jerry Seinfeld's Duke commencement address. I didn't watch that, but I heard that one was really, really good. What was he talking about? Like the importance of humor and not being offended by humor? Which
all I saw was that when he was announced going up to speak, a bunch of students got up and walked out in protest.
Of course they did.
Pro-Palestinian.
Good, let them go.
Walked out.
Let them go. Wow, cool. We have somebody from Australia. That's awesome. Hello, mate. Yeah, but you get the point. Absolutely crazy what Joe Biden is doing, and compared to Obama, I just hope people can see through it. It's my final point. I wish that people understood how absolutely insulting it is. I had that realization when I was in New York, not this past time, but about a year ago during the summer. It was Pride Month, June. And I was in front of the Uggs store on Fifth Avenue. And do you remember this, Sean? They had this huge banner in front of the Uggs store. And it had all of these drag queens on it. And the line or the slogan of that ad campaign was, "Feel heard, feel seen, Uggs." And I remember standing there looking up at this Uggs store with all these drag queens wearing Uggs. And that's when I had this epiphany of how insulting all of this race, gender, sexuality hustling is. Because essentially what Uggs is doing is they're saying to, not overtly, of course, but what the real message there is I don't have to sell my product to you. I can just put up a picture of a drag queen, kind of dog whistle to you that I'm woke or that I'm, celebrating Pride Month, and you'll come into my store and buy my product because I'm putting a picture of a drag queen in front of you. My response to that is, don't sell me on politics. Sell me on the product. Treat me with respect. Appeal to why. Tell me why your product is superior and why I should buy it and why it will be a good purchase for me, irrespective of what genitalia I have or irrespective of who I sleep with. It's so insulting. And this is incredibly insulting. For President Biden to get up there and go, oh, these people with Confederate flags and oh, these people who say the N-word. It's like, I wish people could see that it's just gross. He really is dog whistling, and he just thinks that he can rely on Black America's support because he's talking about some, fringe examples of racism. That to me reeks of insultingness. That's the best word I can come up with. Look it up. It's a word. All right. Before we end with this staggering phone statistic, which I hope will knock you off your feet, and certainly I hope will knock you off your phone, let's talk quickly about MyPillow, or as Dennis calls it, MyPillow. He really does. It's hilarious. As many of you know, I use a lot of MyPillow products. I sleep on a MyPillow. I sleep on the Giza Dream bed sheets. I use my towels and I wear my slippers. And you can get a lot of these products at a massive discount right now. They're having a $25 extravaganza, which is just what it sounds like. You can get 2-pack multi-use MyPillows for just $25. MyPillow sandals for $25. 6-pack towel sets for $25. Brand new 4-pack dish towels for, you guessed it, just $25. And right now, for the first time ever, the premium MyPillows with all new Giza fabric for just $25. Orders over $75 will receive free shipping. Just go to mypillow.com and use the promo code Hartman, or call 1-800-566-6745 today and use the promo code Hartman. All right, so before we end, this will have to continue in another episode. Oh my God, because it is worth our time and attention. I was on Instagram the other day, which is, again, so funny that I learned this on Instagram. And I want to show you what I saw. There's this podcaster named Mel Robbins, who, by the way, is so fantastic. I feel weird recommending another podcast. Of course, listen to mine first and foremost. But if I had to recommend somebody else to listen to, Mel Robbins is spectacular. She gives all this great life advice, and I think she's really cool. So I follow her on Instagram. And I was just mindlessly scrolling, as I try not to do. As some of you know, I've done episodes on this, but of course I fall into the trap like anyone else. I was mindlessly scrolling and this popped up. We have the picture? Yeah. So this is on Mel Robbins' Instagram, and she interviewed this guy named Dr. Adam Atler. Ready for this? On average, he says, you will spend 20 years of your life just scrolling through your phone. That one knocked me out of my scrolling. He continues, imagine it's the end of your life and someone says, would you like an extra 20 years? And your answer is, no, I'd rather have spent my 20 years scrolling mindlessly on my phone. Okay, so I saw that and it was so absolutely terrifying to me. And we know we spend copious amounts of time on these devices. We know that. But I don't think we always are aware or understand just how much it adds up. So, here's another thing I found. Look at this chart. For those of you listening, I hope you'll go on YouTube and check this out, but I can just give you the rundown. It shows in kind of visual form the division of a prospective 18-year-old's life. So right now, if you're 18 years old and your life expectancy is 90 years, which is a lot. Many will die before then because of that. What is it? The average life expectancy is like 72 for men and 75 for women or something. Okay, but let's take an 18-year-old right now and assume they're going to live to 90. This is what the division of their life is going to be if they continue on the trends now with phone use and sleep and all that. So sleep is about a third. For me, it would be maybe about a quarter, a fifth, a tenth, if we were looking at the Julie Artman chart. But most of us will spend about a third of our lives sleeping. Work and school, that looks maybe like a sixth of your life. They have cooking and eating, which is a little bit. Bathroom and hygiene is another little bit. And then you see, look at the amount of time, if these trends continue, that an average current 18-year-old will spend on their phone. And it is about a third of their lives. This is nuts. This is as earth-shattering, and I know this is going to sound dramatic, but it's true, as birth control was in the 60s, as far as the way that it revolutionized the way that men and women interact with each other. This is
the
staggering.
average life expectancy is 79.25.
Oh, really? Oh, that's good.
As of this year. Yeah.
That's really good. But we have to be aware of this. And the thing that's so interesting is we're such guinea pigs right now with technology. It's hard to, when you're in the middle of a trend or you're in the middle of a moment, to recognize that you're in that moment. Generations from now, people will look back and go, oh my God, that generation was swept away by their phones. But it takes strong individuals to be in the middle of this and realize it before it's too late. We have got to get off of our phones. If we care about living a good life, if we care about having any life, it has to be a practice. And let me tell you, I think I'm pretty good with this stuff kind of in general. I really try not to do it, but I even get into the mindless scrolling and all of that stuff on Instagram and I text people. You know what's crazy? I was walking down the street the other day. I saw something funny and I whipped out my phone to go send it to a friend. Now let's consider something for a moment. Maybe it's okay to go in everyday life and see something funny and not take a picture of it and not send it to a friend and maybe just appreciate it for yourself. That doesn't even occur to us, but I noticed that I was doing it. I was like, wait a minute, I have to change my habits here because not everything is worth like broadcasting or making it into a phone moment. But we just have to be aware of these things and change our habits. And again, I'm not wagging the finger. I'm telling you this because I'm trying to do it myself. We have really, really got to change course or we literally will be spending most of our time just at a screen.
I know what you're talking about. I was driving the other day and this guy ran across the street and he tripped over the center median and fell on his face. And first of all, it was horrible that my first reaction was, that's hilarious. And my second reaction is I wanted to rewind it so I could see it again.
You wanted to rewind it so that you could take a video of it and send it to a friend. Yeah. But it's amazing. Again, I know I say this all the time, but we'll do another timeless episode on this. It's amazing how this technology has rewired our brains. We're now like, we think that just seeing something in everyday life, we need to take a photo or a video of it. And by the way, do we, I said, Sean looked at me like I said it twice because I say it all the time. I was making fun of myself.
No, that's your thing.
It is my thing. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
It's one of my quirks. Now I lost my train of thought. You lost your train of thought earlier. What are we on? Dennis and Julie? Bingo. Dennis and I always lose our trains of thought. Oh, I remembered. Where do all these photos go that we take? Seriously. Or these videos. Where the hell do they go? I see something funny last week. I take a video of it. Will I ever look at that thing in my camera roll again? Do you? I don't. But we think like we have to, it's like this psychological thing. We really think if we don't memorialize it in our phone somehow, then the moment didn't happen. It's almost like we're like seizing the moment and putting it in a treasure chest to prove to ourselves that the moment happened. But we'll never go back and look at most of these photos.
If photos and videos and things on the internet took up actual physical space, we'd all be dead. We would have drowned a long time ago.
It's so true. Oh my gosh. Yeah. TLDR, we all got to take control and get the hell off of our phones. Thanks so much for being here. Hope you enjoyed it. You can email me as always at julie@julie-hartman.com. I love hearing from you. And again, seriously, especially if you're struggling with sleep, I really feel that I'm equipped to help people now that I've gotten that more under control. And I'm bright-eyed and bushy-tailed with my 6 to 7 hours. I'll see you tomorrow right here on this YouTube channel, 1 o'clock Pacific, 4 o'clock Eastern. Timeless is live Mondays, Tuesdays, and Wednesdays at that same time. And of course, you can check out Dennis and Julie, which is also on this YouTube channel at 1 o'clock Pacific, 4 o'clock Eastern on Sundays. Take care, everyone. I'll see you soon.